just gonna give a quick intro to, where's your dog? I'm just gonna give a quick intro to the concept behind Brunch Club and Crypto Girls Club. For those of you not aware, I'm really, really happy to host this with Simone, who's been sort of the founder of Brunch Club, who put this all together with us. Actually, our last event was Berlin Blockchain Week. So you hosted a brunch for how many people? About 80 people, 80 to 100 people. So yeah, continuing the legacy of a builder's brunch. A little bit about Crypto Girls Club. We've been in the space since 2021. We're aware there are so many female initiatives, and we're so grateful for everything that's happening in the space. But come on, we need to do better. So we do builders, hackathons, beginner-friendly events, and yeah, we do hiring. So if you want to hire a woman or you are a woman in Web3, reach out to me and let's diversify your team. Cool. So over to you. I'm really excited. We've got literally the best of the best builders right now. Thank you for your patience, and I know it's hot. So shall we kick off the panel, Francesco? Ready to you? Okay. Woo!
Good.
Oh, wait. Okay, 1 second. If you want to win a ledger, tag at Crypto Girls Club on Twitter or X or
Get_brunch.
Get_brunch. We're going to give away a ledger in about an hour. And it's a BTC version. It's beautiful. Cool. Francesco, now it's really over to you.
Thanks so much. Cool intro. Super excited always about what's going on with Brunch. How many of you guys are excited? Yeah? Hey, some energy in the room. Cool. Let's get started with some round of intros. Over to you.
Hi everyone, so nice to see many of you here. I'm Gaia, I'm CEO co-founder of Byzantine Finance. We do an aggregation and abstraction layer for restaking.
Hi everyone, I'm Ella, head of marketing at Gelato. Gelato is a verifiable cloud platform. We build rollups, layer 2s, layer 3s on Ethereum and beyond.
If it's working?
Hi everyone, my name is Zuza, ecosystem manager at Safe, the multi-sig wallet solution smart account abstraction.
Hi everyone, I'm Matt, DevRel at Eigen Labs, focused on Eigen DA. Eigen Labs is research and development focused on innovation in Ethereum, and Eigen DA is highly scalable DA.
Sounds good. So for anybody that doesn't know me, I'm Francesco. I'm part of the DevRel team at Consensys, and I've been running developer communities for quite a long time, and I'm excited about scalability and everything developer and developer tooling related. So how many of you are developers? Raise your hand. Okay, cool. Okay, some familiar faces I see around. So let's get started a little bit. Like, what do you think? Like, both like developers and users are facing today around the infrastructure. What are the challenges that you see in the ecosystem?
Sure, I got the mic, so I guess I'll start. There's a lot of inconsistency on the infrastructure side of things. Users, as a result of some of the developer experience as well, are exposed to more of the infrastructure than maybe they need to be. In Web 2, you have so much abstracted away, and the user experience is very much the focus. And infrastructure can be a massive enabler of developers, and therefore then also user experience, and raising that floor of what's possible. So some of the difficulties might be instability, or also the fact that they have to pay attention to the underlying infrastructure itself, and then maybe also volatility across blockchains, right? And the times that you want to use the blockchain the most, it also becomes the most unstable or costs the most as well. So I see infrastructure as an enabler across the board.
Definitely agree on that. And on top of that, I would also add basically the multitude of new solutions and chains, and basically their compatibility with each other, and the entire idea of the chain abstraction, where we still require users to know what they're actually doing. They need to understand they're sending something from Arbitrum to Optimism, and they are oftentimes blocked because of just the fear that they're going to lose their assets, and they don't really understand what's going on. And this is a challenge for developers on one side, lacking solutions to enable the cross-chain compatibility. Choosing providers, choosing third-party bridging solutions, finding the most secure, the fastest way to provide the infrastructure. And at the same time, the users who shouldn't really even care what is going on behind the scenes. Because if we want to achieve the same experience as we have in Web 2, I don't care how Google works. I don't care how Facebook works or Instagram. I just want to use it. I just want to have one-click experience and get the value from it. While in Web 3, this is still not the case. And right now, also, the entire idea of chain abstraction, of account abstraction, is something that may be a good direction to go, to look into, to basically make it as easy both for the developers and for the users to participate in the space.
Maybe I'm going to take one step back and try to draw parallel from Web 2, right? Today, if you go and try to build a website in Web 2, it's super simple. You're not thinking about potentially like what servers your website is hosted on, like how are all of the boxes, like how are they built in the backend, like what is it running on Liquid, is it running on like what kind of code base is it running on? You just like put all of the boxes together and it kind of works, right? And I think like in Web3, developers and also like app developers are very much focused on developing infrastructure still up until today, and every minute that developers are spending on infrastructure and not spending on applications, it means worse user experience. So at Gelato, we are really trying to provide this, like abstract away completely the infrastructure so that if you want to have a chain underneath your application, this is like a one-click deployment. And you don't need to think about the things, you just need to think about like what are the benefits that I want, my users to have at the end of the day. Same with the middleware. You shouldn't be thinking how oracles are connected to your, application. You just need to know that you need price feeds and data. And technically where we stand is that all of the infrastructure should be completely abstracted away.
I completely agree with that, and maybe if I have to divide in two ways, on the UX side, what I would do is that on the end you have, of course, the end user, and there is really the key point to abstract away as much as you can is they just have to understand what's the goal there and not how you get there. But on the other hand, on like the dev side, is a bit more complex because, of course, like you have to still have all of the flexibility towards the construction of the product, and therefore you cannot really abstract away a lot. What we do at Byzantine, for example, is that what we try to abstract are the integrations, and this is how we help them. So, for example, we take care of all the integration across multiple restaking protocols. That is like something extremely heavy, and this is really something that we believe is central, and this is what we're building on top.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Like, I don't want to dive on the IPs. Like we deep dive quite a lot also back in Berlin on 437, on 7702. But I mean, like, obviously, like smart accounts is the way to go. Like, what are you seeing, like, modules that are lacking today, right? Could be on the risk-taking side. Obviously, you guys are on Eigen layer, are taking out a lot of technical depths for developers to deploy. You see all this kind of like AVS hype right now. Tomorrow we have also like an AVS day happening, so I'm looking really forward to that. But do you think like we're lacking some like big parts of the infrastructure today that we need to carry down before like starting to get a bigger user adoption?
It feels like a lot of the puzzle pieces are there to start, and I think maybe like connective tissue, right, is very important, right? So abstraction at the user level, I think is like probably the end goal, and infrastructure is the way that we can maybe get there. So both at like the integration part as well as being able to spin up probably like quickly is a massive aspect of it. I mean, there probably are some pieces, just like in Web 2, there are more things than we can possibly think of to create. But more, I guess I'm an optimistic person as a whole, and I think we have a lot of the puzzle pieces there. And now it's also trying to like work with both the existing like Web3 developer community, but also I believe the infrastructure is there where there are a lot of Web 2 applications that previously were not possible that we can get to there. So previously we were constrained a lot by even the base layer, like an L1, and how many executions you can do per second, right? And now you're kind of getting away from that onto like the L2 and getting customizable, sort of like you can get roll-ups, L2s, like app chains, and customizing the experience is what we're getting towards on the infrastructure side of things. I think that's where we I hope to go. To answer your question, I believe there's gonna still be pain points for sure, and that's clear. But we've also got plenty of people that are actively working on them, and I think that it's not only enabling existing developer community in Web3, but also there are plenty of ideas that have yet to be unlocked and realized in the Web2 community, and I'd love to see more of that too. So I'm excited for the future on that front.
Apart from that, also I feel like actually we do have quite enough of the puzzles already, and maybe the problem is that everyone wants to have their own puzzle, and everyone is coming up with their own standard and the only right solution and the best solution that there is. And I think that we really need to collaborate more and brainstorm more together, which is actually happening right now during the FCC, which was happening also during Berlin Blockchain Week, where different teams, kind of the competitive teams, are coming together to see how they can solve the different issues, working on the common standards, or basically discussing how we can actually become more agnostic and give the developers the flexibility to decide what they prefer to use, what is kind of the value that they want to bring to the user. Is it more about security? Is it more about the speed of transactions? Is it about the user experience, just getting things done with just one click? And I think the main thing missing within the infrastructure is actually collaboration, and trying to come together with solutions that will allow us to scale more. And again, give the flexibility, give the freedom of choice both to the developers and to the users.
I think on my end, what I see as the biggest problem that, for example, when you're deploying a new rollup, 70% of costs of running your rollup does not come necessarily from having to post to Ethereum or settlement layer cost and actually the rollup cost. It comes from infrastructure that you require to run your rollup with. So it comes from oracles, it comes from smart accounts, it comes from all of the other things that you need on top to make your rollup work. The issue is that today, if you really want to make a rollup that works for your use case, you might end up with a ticket of 100K per year to run your infrastructure. So, if every website would cost 100K to run, there would be no, internet web adoption. So I think we still have a lot of work to do to bring the costs down across the board.
Yeah, I agree with that, and just to take on what you guys said, I agree that a lot of the pieces are already there, and that we're missing a lot of collaboration. And what I'm seeing is also that we're missing the pieces to bring on board institutional adoption. And I think that especially we're seeing this a lot in restaking, there is a lot of gap between all the restaking protocols, and there's not a lot of big actual collaborations, and it's still a bit hard to onboard institutions. And yeah, this is something we're trying to work on and bridging between Symbiotic, of course, and on other chains as well, and trying to build the infrastructure so that it's going to be extremely easy for institutions to actually come and start restaking as well. That could be funds, that could be any kind of liquidity provider that could come into securing chains and new services.
Yeah, I'd be happy to continue on that. I think that's a really important point, is also maybe the form of enablement, right? There's different ways. There's the whole world of scope of what you can be exposed to as far as infrastructure, and having to make every single one of those decisions yourself is really tough. So on the rollups as a service side, it's really massive of being able to reduce the scope. And on a user side, we've seen that devs are users too. And if they're users of infrastructure. So what you sort of brought up there as well, within the restaking or AVS is what you're alluding to, is we're kind of getting at this point where we almost have building blocks, and we need some way to be able to interact with them. And it kind of leads towards an app store-like experience of what we need to be able to move towards, is being able to pick and choose the different pieces of it, and also kind of have those options easily accessible and integratable across the board, rather than the current case is it's a very manual process on the front, right? So like abstraction and like simplification like really win on that front, and maybe that can enable more of this collaboration as well.
It's also natural evolution, right? Like both roll-up as a service, you see like layer 3 is popping up, you see modular account built on other modular account, you start to see delegatables with like passkey, and I'm seeing that a lot within wallets, right? Obviously, like MetaMask is leading the way, but what we launched with MetaMask Naps, right? Fully permissionless innovation. Community own those extensions, but the cool thing is that the journey is fully personalized now, right? And you are like, I don't know, into Cosmos, you start to have some non-EVM compatible snaps being installed on your MetaMask so that you can start getting, airdrops from also like all the Cosmos ecosystem. Same with like Solana, but that's kind of the non-EVM side. So like people want more customized journey. They want to get this technical depth, obviously. So it's kind of like a natural evolution. I just want to be making people aware that like rollup as a service is great, but you remember like back in the days when people were forking layer 2s and you had like new layer 2s popping up that were literally like forks of other things. I see a little bit that's happening within like the gaming industry. People are starting to get verticalized into like gaming layer 2 forks. I don't know, like I saw like a couple of like different new layer 2s happening in very specific to gaming, but they're literally forks of like ZK Sync and other layer 2s. So that's also like quite interesting, and I want to make people always like aware that that you always like forking a project at the end is how would you say, like is a community challenge, it's a community game, right? Even if the technology can be replaced or like can be like extended based on some other current infrastructure, you still have like challenges around how you get a vibrant community, how you get your sustainable community. And to this point, like what do you think like people need to do in order to get this like users and developer community much more in a sustainable way that is going abroad than just like airdrops or like voyages, That's for everybody. I know it's an hard question, but I'm here to get spicy here. Huh?
Perfect. So to clarify your question before I answer is, how do we get more sustainable like growth and sustain?
Exactly. Yeah, because at the end, like it's not just a product game, right? You have different angles. I mean, I'm not speaking like specific to Eigen layer and all the AVS game right now. I can speak also like around how to grow like different layer 2 ecosystems. Because you see that as an example, right? Like sustainability doesn't come from farming users or even like specific building a specific developer ecosystem that is short-term rewarded like grants, right? Like how we get this sustainable like growth that is kind of like coming back and really getting more users, because users are aware that you are a thought leader in the space and you can build cool things.
Okay, maybe to take on that, I think that actually tokens are one of the ways, and in that I see two main points. On one hand, of course, is fairness of allocations, but that is kind of like a no-brainer. And the second point, I think it's really on a token release that is not done over one night, but rather long-term and over different seasons. And I think that, for example, EtherFi is doing it pretty amazingly. And what's important in this like token release that are done over time is that you get the chance of realigning every time on what are the KPIs on one hand of the users and what they're looking for, and on the other also what you're building on on the protocol level. So you get the chance of really aligning those two and creating value for the long term. Otherwise, you're just basically pumping and dumping, and not really building a community and like actual value around it.
I'm happy to take it from the developer perspective, and I think one of the key things to keep a vibrant community going is, first of all, documentation, because Web3 still is just horrible when it comes to documentation, and this is the first thing that developers would say. And when they do want to build, they have the idea, they have the motivation, but they don't have the resources, they're going to go somewhere else. And there is no way of keeping them if they do not even know where to start. The other thing, on the other hand, actually, is the human connection. and enabling developers to interact with each other and actually build solutions that are compatible with each other. They can use each other's solutions built on the stack of your rollup, for example, of your own project. But you are the one to basically make the introductions, to show them that you actually care, and also that they will get the value that you generate as a project, not through the airdrops, but through the continuous, constant contribution that they are providing. And they can also then become the evangelists in your own community and basically scale that reach for you and scale the community, connect more, network more, contribute to your documentation as well. So it's basically like the overarching umbrella really of really caring for the community in terms of the technical resources, but also human resources and the availability to provide for yourself or through the ambassadors that you create yourself.
Yeah, we started back in the days at DevRel chat, and we started also like some session called Rust My Docs or something, that we were basically getting random docs and starting to get them like crashing. So there was a cool sessions. I think docs is definitely like a big part of the game, especially on developer onboarding. But coming back a little bit on the product side, like any use case that you guys see that are evolving more, like could be also vertical, coming from obviously like not just restaking, but also like you're seeing stuff like scaling infras on different ways. Could be on gaming, could be on I don't know, like decentralized identity, could be on DeFi. Like what are the kind of like trends that you see right now, and the specific vertical that you see that are popping up more and more?
There's been plenty of conversation around consumer crypto, and sometimes a lot of things get bundled into it more than maybe rather less than maybe what consumer crypto is. Consumer crypto is really just end users, like people using this at the end of the day, and I'm generally excited about being able to use the things that we built, right? Is that the hope that this is in the background and they don't necessarily have to care about the underlying infrastructure, instead that it is a better, not like at par, but better experience than is what is offered. So I think Base has been an interesting example on that front of abstracting away from USDC transfers are
I'm the
free,
founder of Crypto
right?
Girls
So
Club.
it's simple to be able to see some of those things. I think consumer applications as a whole in Web2, they continue to work. You expect
This is our first like mixed event,
behavior
but
and,
like I think it's cool. Like once it dies down.
you can use it. Like that comes from like people talk about trust as a whole. Like trust is also like through an experience, like your first sort of experience with something. If it breaks the first time or you're confused and it feels like you have no idea of how it works, it's pretty tough. And I think that also gets into like being able to have like multiple experiences. It's like that's exciting for me. Is on the blockchain side of things, we're very exposed to volatility. So this is kind of getting into like an enabler, and I'll maybe touch on that, is like being able to have like predictable, let's say even costs or operational costs and things like that are going to be particularly useful, so that you can then give a consistent, predictable experience to the end user. Like this should be abstracted away and an enabler. So consumer, whatever that bundle is and whatever gets into someone's head, I mean, consumer social, I'm a big fan of like Farcaster and like, using it myself, and that's where we actually met first. So I think that is something that I'm generally interested in, is consumer crypto in the sense that we can have predictable experiences, and these end users, this magic ticket,
No one gave me speakers water. I need water now.
in a smaller sense,
No,
is a
someone
similar
forgot to give it.
experience of the
It's dying.
consistency that we can.
Just a bottle.
You can see that with like MetaMask SDK, that you get like batch transaction needs. Like any game, you need to start doing batch transaction and then sponsor transaction for like light users. That's a big one. I mean, social on chain, obviously not just because of the frame craziness or Farcaster, but everybody's looking for more like distributed tooling that are defending much more like user ethics, but they're also like able to onboard. I don't know how. If we are right now there, I don't know if you ever use like, I don't know, Unlock for issuing NFT ticketing, and we're still like using stuff like Luma that is very straightforward, right? But social on-chain is one of the biggest focus right now, but I don't want to monopolize the conversation.
No, keep on going. For me, I think one of the main trends that I see right now and I'm really happy about is like improving UX experience. UX apps, the experience for the user, which is more going towards the Web2 experience, where we have the do-it-all wallets, which basically don't require you to really like focus on the technicalities behind what's going on. You can perform the swaps, you can do the bridging. You can manage your smart accounts through wallets like Zeal Wallet, Nest Wallet, for example. On the other side, we have decentralized storage. Like, for example, Fileverse yesterday released a decentralized version of Google Docs, which is super smooth, super easy to use, amazing, looks amazing, it's very easy for someone who doesn't even know what crypto is. On the other side, we have the people behind the scenes who are building the infra, and now what I mentioned at the beginning, providing like the chain abstraction, multi-chain, cross-chain solutions, which then come together with the dApps that are really caring for the user experience, with the ease of being able to basically interact across multiple different chains or even ecosystems, Cosmos or EVM chains. And this altogether is becoming like this easier puzzle to build and a quicker way for the developers to build products that actually can be used by the end user without much knowledge or experience.
Maybe this one. So to take maybe a step back and like reconnecting onto the scalability side of things and maybe on value building, I see that at the beginning when you're really launching, the most important thing is really to own the relationship with your clients, so with the actual users. But then it's a matter of like, of course, scaling that relationship. But that means that, of course, you have to kind of create clusters inside of those you put kind of users, and therefore there's the complexity of keeping the relationship, but also being able of replying well and in the correct way to those customer needs, while you also have more and more and more customers. And that is like, I think, one of the most important and complex things about scalability is that like create this flexibility around the product, but also kind of like one size fits all kind of situation, because of course you cannot like change the product for every customer.
I maybe want to have a spicy take here. I think ecosystem chains are dead. I think, like we're going to see more and more users and people migrate to app chains. I think this is where the value is going to be also captured. And going back to consumer crypto, I think like what you said, like we want to see a future where there's going to be like, for example, a similar experience that, for example, Apple App Store offers, right? And I think this can be only realized in an app chain environment. There's definitely a lot of work to be done. I think like there's definitely a good startup ideas for, like building this kind of like app store for crypto. But yeah, I think like ecosystem chains are that for sure. Also like in terms of like numbers of chains that are being launched, I think like in the last quarter there was maybe 5 or 6 ecosystem chains, and we had seen more than hundreds of app chains. So this is definitely the future, and I'm super excited about it. And back to like smart accounts, I just saw like maybe just like a little plug for the OP team. They actually had their Fjord update today, which allows for biometric verification, which I think is like a huge step forward also for wallet infrastructure, because the biggest, I think, like issue for the adoption of the wallet infrastructure is costs today. So if we can take down the costs on the infrastructure side, then also the whole account abstraction and everything is going to come to fruition.
Awesome. I think we're almost on time. Anybody has any questions?
Can use this box? Works.
You can throw. There you are.
Hello. Oh shit, that works. Okay. My question is, I guess, when you think about what excites you in terms of scaling the infrastructure of Web3, making it accessible to more users, I guess what is the end goal in sort of the broader picture of decentralized finance in terms of outcomes that you're hoping to see? Which is a huge question, but there you go. do I throw this to someone else now?
So I'm just repeating. So the goal will be like what's the kind of like the mission or like the challenges and the mission on DeFi side.
It's more like the vision, because the infrastructure is really, I think of like the pipes in this overall system, right? And so when you can overcome the infrastructure challenges, what is then, I think, the ultimate vision of like, it would be great if we could reach this point.
Okay, on my end, I think that it really comes down to user experience and bringing institutions on board. Because I think that it's still something that we're working very hard on, and it's not necessarily very easy. Because of course, like on one hand, there's all the matter of regulations that still comes into the way, especially from like TradFi. So if I see like in the long term, I'd say that bringing and bridging like institutions between like Web 2 and Web 3, it's one of the long-term goals that like still needs to be attained, and like it needs to be there's a lot of work that needs to be done still.
I think in DeFi we have a lot of products that are focused on professional DeFi users, like traders, but there's not so many products that are focusing on like mainstream usage. So I'm really excited, for example, like in Gnosis ecosystem, you have Gnosis Pay, card providers, payments. I would really love to just come to Brussels, book my flight with crypto, which is currently still impossible to do. Or if you have some tips, let me know. Or pay for my, like coffee in coffee shop with USDC. So I think like just mainstream adoption is being able to pay with crypto everywhere.
Agree to what you just said. Definitely, it's one thing is making it as easy as possible for the users to actually leverage their crypto in the real life scenario, not just in the dApp universe when they sit in front of their screen, but actually in the real life, like go for lunch with a friend and pay with the crypto, get salaries in crypto. Like this is super important for the third world countries where basically the local currencies are so unstable that you cannot rely on your own financial system. On the same side, it's basically about the institutional world and creating the bridge between the institutions and the crypto to be able to dip into it if you want to. You'll have the possibility to, for example, choose an institution that will be the guardian of your wallet and will help you recover funds if you wish to go through a KYC process and have them as someone that you can really rely on. If something happens, they will help you to recover your funds. And making this easier for the users to have the best of the two worlds.
Yeah, very well said. I like there's varying levels of maybe what the difficulty someone wants to be able to expose themselves to. So what you brought up is like some of this delegation, I think is a really important aspect, and being able to meet different like user requirements is a massive piece. And maybe going into what I'm very excited about in general is, technology, like the internet and the extension of the internet where we are with Web3 is really, it's underlying and connecting people at scale and being able to coordinate at scale. So DeFi is also then able to now allow people, there's the aspect of financial inclusion, right? You bring up that there is a lot of instability in certain currencies, that financial inclusion or access even to financial markets isn't necessarily there. And there are some teams like Cello that have been working on payments for many years, working towards financial inclusion, amongst many other teams that are working within that space. So I see technology, and by extension, then Web3 is really a enabler of humans at the end of the day. So making these different, let's say, personas, being able to have those options is these humans. There's also organizations where maybe you need to be able to delegate away some of that, responsibility that comes with some additional time or mental overhead. So being able to accommodate for all of those people, and hopefully at the end of the day, enable humans is really what excites me, and I guess why conferences like these are particularly fun.
Thank you. Oh. Thank you. I was definitely speaking my first draft question.
Awesome. I think we're on time. We're over? Okay. Thanks everybody. Big round of applause for our panelists.
Thank you.